Today is November 14th, 2016, and I am interviewing Raymond Mansholt, who is 87 years old, having been born on March 28th of 1929. My name is Sue Burkholder, and I will be the interviewer. Ray, for the recording, would you please state what branch of service that you served in and during what war?
The Army and the Korean War.
Okay. All right. Well, to start off with, could you please tell us a little bit about where you were born and your family, your parents, and any brothers or sisters that you have?
Well, let's see. I was born in Macoupin County, Bunker Hill, Illinois, on a farm with my mom and dad. I had one brother and two sisters. Have one sister still living.
Okay.
Let's see.
And so did your parents or your father farm?
Yes.
If you were living on a farm, I assume he did, but yeah. So that was his occupation?
Yes.
Okay. And what then, as you grew up and were old enough, what sort of jobs did you do? Did you help on the farm, or did you have other jobs that you were able to do?
I worked on a farm until I went into service.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I came home from service, I worked 2 years on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went into working on farm machinery for 43 years.
Wow. Okay. So you had told me earlier you were drafted, and how did you feel about that when you received your draft notice?
Well, I didn't like it, but I knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm. What about your parents and family? How did they feel?
Well, I guess that's the thing that had to go.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was in the First World War, and so that was about it.
Okay.
My dad and brother carried on the farm while I was gone.
Did you have any other family members besides your dad that served in the military?
A brother-in-law.
Okay. Right. So, how did your family feel like when you were actually leaving to go into the Army? How were they feeling about then?
Well, I think it kind of upset my mother more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I was lucky I made it through without any problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you arrived at basic training, and what were your first impressions when you got there? Do you remember that?
Oh, I don't know how to say. It was different than civilian life.
Mm-hmm.
But just had to do what you was told.
Were there any memorable instructors while you were in basic training that you remember?
Any what?
Memorable instructors?
No, just one that Sergeant, I thought he was kind of rough or smart aleck, but after I thought about what he said, I guess he was right. He said, you gotta hate what you're doing to make a good soldier, so and that's just the way he put it. And he taught that way too.
Did you make any friends that lasted throughout your service or longer while you were in basic training?
Yes.
Did you keep in contact with them?
Until about the last 20 years or so, I haven't anymore.
Okay. All right. Is there any one thing that like happened during basic training that sticks out to you as memorable or funny or something just that you can remember from that time?
Well, I remember going through the gas chamber. That wasn't funny. We all sitting in a big tent. They set off the tear gas. You had your gas mask with you, but you had to hurry and get it on. And if you didn't, boy, you couldn't breathe. And then the other time was they had 55-gallon oil barrels buried in the ground. You had to get down in that oil barrel and they come 20 mile an hour with a tank and run over you. So you hunched down in that barrel. I weighed about 130 pounds at that time, so I could fit in there pretty good. Big guys had trouble.
Oh, goodness. So, after you completed your basic training, did you go on to any specialized training?
No.
Okay. And so where did you go then? Where did you go next?
Then I went, well, after my furlough, then I went straight to Germany.
And what did you do there?
What did I do there? Well, when I first got over there, I got in the motor pool, and from 8 to 5 every day, all I done is spray OD paint. And then I got transferred out of that into what they call the tool room, had all the special tools for the mechanics, and I took care of those until I got out.
Okay. All right. Well, were there some memorable things that happened during that time, or tell us like a day in the life of what you did those days?
Well, while I was in Germany, it was more or less kind of a 8 to 5 job. And of course we had, every once in a while we had guard duty, which would be at nights. And we had the barracks we lived in was what the Germans had when they was fighting, which was a pretty good place to live. Other than that, the guys I was with over there were all pretty good. All you found had one you couldn't get along with, you just didn't have nothing to do with him, you know. That's the way I done all through life. If I thought I couldn't get along with somebody, I just ignored him.
Yeah. So you, when you were in the mechanics tool, you said you took care of that. What specifically did you do? Did you check them in and out, or
Yes.
that type of thing?
Yes, we was I had a room about 3 times the size of this one, and it was fenced in with a wire cage, and they came up to a little window and asked for a wrench, and then I'd write it down on a piece of paper what they got, had them sign it, and if they didn't come back with it, then I was to turn a charge list over to the company they were from. But I didn't have too much trouble with it. That was a pretty easy job. Pretty good.
So, outside of work, what did you do for relaxation or recreation?
Oh, we'd go into the little town there in Germany, and a bunch of guys and just sit at a table and eat a sandwich and drink beer. And I took one trip on a little train they had scheduled. We had I don't know, you call her a guardian or a lady that went along and showed us where to go. We went to Paris one day. It was a one-day trip. That was quite an experience, seeing Paris, because that's a different country.
Yeah. What all did you see while you were there?
Well, that little tower there, I was up
Here,
6 stories on the elevator.
Hold it in front of just kind of hold it up like this, back a little bit towards you. There you go. Okay. So that's a souvenir that you brought back from Paris.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And you started saying you went up in the Eiffel Tower? You did go up in the Eiffel Tower?
I was up 6 stories. The elevator was broke down then.
Wow. Okay. And what did you think of Paris? Did you like it, or the city of Paris?
Yeah, the whole country, in my opinion, is a lot different than the United States. But I guess if you was there and lived there, you'd like it. And Paris was and where this tower was at, was a big square, like about 2 times bigger than the one in Corinville. And traffic just going around and around through there, and bicycles, and when you wanted to walk across the street, about 10-12 people would just gang up side of the road, and all at once you take a notion you want to go, everybody went at one time and made the traffic stop. There was no policeman or anything there. You just took off and went across the street, and traffic had to stop.
And you hoped it stopped, Wow. Okay. So other than traveling, what other things did you do for recreation?
That was about it. There wasn't much else to do. Go to the PX and get some a pint of ice cream and come back home and sit in the room and eat it. Nights, whenever you could get a pass, all it was is to go to town and sit there and drink beer.
Mm-hmm. So, were there ever any entertainers that came to Germany for the troops?
There was some, but I didn't get to any of it. Bob Hope was over there, I think, a time or two.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say is your most memorable experiences, or what were your most memorable experiences, if you had to choose a couple while you were serving in Germany?
I don't know. I guess I learned a lot about life while I was in the service, different things, and how to get along with people. And I know when I got back out of the service, if you said something to me that I didn't like, I let you know it. Now I don't do that anymore.
Now, did you spend all of your service time outside of basic training in Germany?
Yes.
Okay. And this was this right during the Korean War, or how did it?
During the Korean War.
It was during the Korean War. Okay. But you never had to go to Korea?
No.
No. All right. All right. So overall, well, what did you think of Germany when you were there? I know you talked about going and maybe going to an establishment and eating and having a beer and that. But overall, how did you like the German people? How were they toward the servicemen?
Well, they accepted the Americans, I think, pretty well. Or some of the American guys, I think, really made fools of themselves. Because when they'd go to town, they'd always be getting drunk. But other than that, the German people were good to us, I think. Most of the Germans was our cooks in the mess hall. Only had food wasn't bad, wasn't flavored too much or anything, but you could easily live on it. I got plenty.
So if the cooks, you said the cooks in the mess hall were Germans?
Most of them were Germans, yes.
So was the food, did it have a more German flavor to it then? Or were they cooking more American food?
Let's do more American.
Okay. Let's see. And what was the climate like, the weather, while you were in Germany compared to the States?
Well, the weather was a lot like here in Illinois. Even the winters it gets snow. The most unusual thing that I noticed, we had a lot of white frost in I think that was 1952. And that white frost just all frozen on the trees. All the trees were just white with white frost, which was pretty, but didn't get a lot of ice like we do here, and no big heavy snows.
Okay. All right. I just had a question and it just went. So, oh, I know. How did you feel knowing that there was a conflict going on in Korea, but you were serving your time in Germany, and knowing that you, at least as far as you knew, you weren't going to Korea to actually be involved in the conflict? How did you feel about that?
Well, that made me feel pretty good.
Yeah.
And when I took basic training, I went through that infiltration course where you got to crawl on the ground and they shoot over your head. And I still remember those bullets whizzing past you. And I was glad I wasn't someplace where they was shooting at me. You could go to town or go anywhere, and you didn't have to worry about getting shot.
Did you send a lot of correspondence home or correspond with your family?
Yes, I wrote home about every week.
And how was that when you did you receive letters too then?
Yes.
And how was that when you would receive a letter?
Well, that made me feel good to hear that everything was going okay at home. My mom would write to me about every Saturday or Sunday, and then I'd get it about the end of the week. Our mail service was pretty good.
So, when you were, was the Korean conflict still going on when you left Germany?
No, it had ended.
It had ended. How did you feel when you knew that had ended?
Well, that made me feel pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. And so when you, let's see, you were in until early 1953. So did you finish, or did you leave Germany because you were, your service time was completed?
My service time was up.
So you came back to the States, and where did you go from there?
Then I came back home to Bunker Hill and farmed with my dad and brother for 2 years.
Okay. And then what did you do after that?
Then I went into my mechanical business, working on farm machinery and cars and trucks. I've done that for 43 years.
Okay. And did you have trouble switching your mindset coming home from Germany back to being out of the Army and back in the States?
No, I don't think that was any problem for me.
And what
Other than when I got back home, all the friends I had before I went into service. But either in service or married, and we're no friends left anymore, you might say.
So did it take you a little bit to either reestablish friendships or make new ones? Yeah. Did you, I'm sure your family was thrilled to have you home. They were pretty happy. Your parents and siblings. So, since then, I guess since you've been home and you were working, then did you join any veterans organizations?
The American Legion and just a church.
Okay. And were you pretty active in the American Legion?
Well, it wasn't until about 3 years ago.
Okay.
And now I don't have a car, and I don't get around too much anymore, so I haven't been attending meetings.
Sure. Well, while you were active, what activities did you enjoy participating with the group?
Oh, we had breakfast, serving, and some, let's see. Really didn't go out and see too much with the Legion. We had meetings once a month and a supper. It was just being with some, I guess you call it good friends. You know, I think being in the service, most guys, you learn how to get along with each other. If you don't, you got trouble.
So, have you had the opportunity to attend any reunions with your military folks that you served with?
No.
No? Okay. And you said you kept in contact with them until...
about 28, 30 years ago.
Okay.
Now I don't know if they're still alive or not.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you feel like your service and the experiences that you lived while you were in the service have affected your life?
For a while I thought it was just 2 years of my life wasted, but I guess you learn how to get along with people and live with different things.
Can you think of any life lessons besides getting along and learning to live with others? Any life lessons that you did learn because of your military service?
No, not really.
Okay. And did your military experience influence your thinking about war or the military in general? Did it change your thinking about that?
Well, I don't like wars. I think they could A lot of them should be averted, but I did have one guy tell me one time, and I thought he was nuts when he told me, but he says you got to have wars to control population. And after I got thinking about that for a while, I kind of have to agree with it.
Okay. And do you have, I think you have a few things there. Did you want to show any of your other items that you have?
Well, this was a first aid kit.
Hold it down just a little bit. So yeah, there you go. And over that way just a little bit. There you go.
First aid kit that they gave with when he was on the front line fighting, and that was brought home by my brother-in-law.
Okay.
He was in the Second World War.
Okay.
And these shells here, my dad brought those home from the First World War. He was in France at the time working in a hospital. There was a spoon my dad had. It has U.S. stamped in the handle. And this was a little compass my dad had in the service. And these little things, when he worked in the hospital, there was he got shot or something and had a bleeding, and this was to pinch off the blood vessel.
Oh, okay.
And the handle was locked.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
I just few odd gadgets that I like to keep.
Sure. Well, those are very interesting. Well, is there anything, if you could say something to somebody who might see or hear your interview in the future, what would you tell them?
Well, I hate to see anyone have to go into any war or fighting, but I think some people need to go to the service to learn how to take orders and get along with people. Some people probably, it goes the other way, but I've had some relation that I think if they needed to be in the service to learn how to take orders from someone else. Because I was also service manager in the garage in civilian life, and you get people, you know, that don't want to do what you tell them.
Okay. All right. Well, do you have any last comments or anything else you would like to share?
That's all I have.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you very, very much for taking time to sit and chat with me about your military service, and thank you for your service to our country.